My experience of the holidays has changed so much over the years and in so many ways. How do I think of these last months of the year? What makes me feel energized, excited, gives me brain sparkle? Those were the items of my childhood sense of wonder. But as an adult, I've had to work at seeking them out. That magical sense, the anticipation, the joy in surprise moments. How have I made it happen over the decades? Because what I experienced as a child, it dissipated somewhere in there. And I was always searching for it, recreating that magic in the universe for myself. Now, I'm not a tips kind of gal, but I can give you my thoughts and my stories. There are plenty of those. And I want to be sure you understand that by holidays, I mean the seasons where all kinds of faiths and traditions gather together, merry, happy, abuzz, bring a little bit of sparkle to their lives. So I don't mean to exclude anyone in what I have to say. But now I'm going to get started. Before I get deep into my stories, because I know I'll forget, please subscribe. It really helps out the channel. It lets YouTube know that we adults, we seniors, really appreciate content that's authentic and that's about us. And I'm no robot. I'm really alive here. And those likes, I'm sure you can guess how much I appreciate those at the end of the day. So if you'll hit that like button, it'll make me feel great. Thanks. I want to talk about my childhood for a moment. In the holiday season at the end of the year, it was filled with greenery, bright flowers, festoons of garlands along the streets and in people's homes, white candles glimmering in the darkness, kids full of anticipation, parents energized by that, full of fun in the glee of their children, the markets abuzz, with adults stopping at the stalls to have a good look, mesmerized too by what they saw there. Figs, dates, oranges, cyclamen, nuts, and an abundance of decorations, of bright little lights, that aroma. Heck, I would have been satisfied with just the aroma of it all. That smell of fur, that's always been special to me. That was my childhood, and in one way or another, I had that experience all over the world. And perhaps what was most important to me as I think about it were all those moments that were surprises, things I didn't anticipate, in whatever shape those came. A glimpse of something, a gift that was selected specially for me, or just an experience in the world. I never lost that sense, and I reached for it through my adulthood. Now, I'm a solo, and I've never been married. I don't have kids. And I think this is a very particular perspective that I'm going to talk about. As I passed through my teens, when boys and girls started to be interested in each other, into my 20s, when the pairings were more significant, and then to my 30s, by then most folks had coupled up. They were having families. They were talking about pregnancies, the right kind of school, potty training, being soccer moms, trying to work and keep the house going at the same time. All the obligations of being a parent and rearing kids you'd want to meet. That's what I encountered in my 30s, and I'm sure many of you experienced that. However, that was a big differentiator between my kind of person and that kind of person. And it seemed that most of the world went in that direction. And there I was, solo, and not identifying with all the chitter-chatter about raising kids, about building families, and then extended families. Islands of folks who could identify with each other by special bonds. And this was especially true of my family, which seemed to get bigger and bigger and bigger. They were all in that mix. Clearly, I was not. I was an outsider. Now, I really appreciate those families that took me in, invited me, incorporated me in their holidays. They were good to me. They made me feel welcome. They included me, and I felt connected. But still, there was this lingering sense of discomfort and not being quite there. Actually, I'm an introvert. I don't really appreciate the hustle and bustle and noise of big families, big crowds, stuffed into a room, chitter-chattering about their year, about how the kids have grown and their work successes. I just wanted to go home, put my slippers on, put my feet up, space myself out if I wanted to, regroup. It was many years into my adulthood before it suddenly occurred to me, Judith, you're really uncomfortable. You could just go do something else. Find that magic, that surprise at things you haven't seen before, and the anticipation of all of that. Go out and enjoy it. Look for it, find it, experience it. I got ill one year, and it kind of pushed me in that direction. I needed to change my space. Could I fly across the country and be with my immediate family? Sure. I didn't want to. I wanted my space, like I'd always wanted my space, my own resourcefulness. So what did I do? I went to the travel agent, and I was going to suggest I go on a cruise. And when she heard that, she said, oh no, that's not for you. You need to go to Rarotonga. And I said to her, Rora what? And she said, look, there's a special deal going. You could go to Rarotonga. It's in the Cook Islands, by the way. And she said, it'll only cost $1,000. That's your hotel, the flight, and the transfers from the airport to the hotel. You won't have to do anything. And that hotel, it even includes breakfast. Heck, I was all for it, even though I'd never heard of it before. And I'd certainly never been to the South Pacific. But I had visions of sandy beaches and palm trees. And that was nothing. My visions, even though they energized me, were nothing compared to what I found there. But here was the thing. I had just started a new job, and I didn't have any time off. So what did I do? I took between Christmas and New Year's. I guessed no one would notice if I just didn't happen to be working. And I left. I went on that fabulous trip, and as that plane, after, a 14-hour flight, lowered itself over Rarotonga, oh, the magic. I have never seen anything like that quality of aqua-colored water in my life. The shades of blue, of green. It was the most wonderful sight. And here, I was getting the magic of the universe, that excitement, the anticipation, the surprise about things I hadn't seen before. My brain was starting to sparkle already before that plane landed. Now, the Cook Islands in those days, there were no resorts. I don't believe they're into it even now in a big way. So my fancy resort, it actually looked more like a Motel 6. But heck, it was right on the beach. And I will tell you, it was a Motel 6 with a line. And it wasn't wallpaper. It was a measure of the height of the waves for a previous tsunami, not long before. But I didn't care. I hung out on the beach. I went to dinner with some random friends I met. I poked around in town. There was only one supermarket that sold gifts that would be given at Christmas and food at the same time. Trust me, it was tiny. And I loved it all because there was that same delight in the air. And for me, that wonderful sense of adventure that I'd somehow lost. But here I recaptured it. I took a couple of field trips You could pay $2 to watch a kid climb a palm tree. And there was nothing really well organized in terms of sightseeing, but that was okay. I could step into the water and see all kinds of colored little fish around my ankles. And all I really wanted to do was cast my eyes over those brilliant aquacolor shades in the lagoon, stretching out to sea. It was so wonderful. And I was there a week, and I flew back home, energized, restored, reconnected with everything I enjoyed about the universe. And did my boss find out I'd been gone? No. As I guessed, everyone was gone. No one noticed I was missing. And this was my solution for a few years to come. I'd simply go away. The following year, I went to Fiji. I thought, oh, an island in the South Pacific. I'll do that way again, but I'll go to a little bit different place. And it had a different kind of magic. I flew there on Fijian Airways. The flight only went once a week. The inside of the plane was festooned with tinsel garlands. And as that plane zoomed along the runway to take off, the garlands were swinging. And in the middle of the night, I wanted a glass of beer. Oh, madam, I'll bring your beer and some snacks to go with it. And later, oh, you'd like some tea? I made you a pot. That was the nature of Fiji. They were bent on taking care of you. I've never been to a place like that. And sure enough, the magic continued. I arrived at the airport, and they had a special minister to meet the tourists. Music, dancing, and everyone was tended to. So they were sent to the correct hotel in the correct bus. No one was left stranded. I had never seen anything like that before. And my hotel, it was much fancier than the one in the Cook Islands. It was a regular resort, but here's the thing. It was set in a botanical garden on its own island, and the trees were aflame with red flowers. My room, the cheapest room in the resort, and again a package deal, it overlooked the ocean. I could have sat on that balcony day in and day out. It just had a special feel to it, and the sense of being taken care of. I saw many wonderful things on that trip, had some great experiences with local culture, and then I went on my way back home. And the funny thing is, I hated the holidays. Yeah, I've admitted that already. I hated Christmas. And what happened? I didn't realize this in advance, but I had left on Christmas Eve. And what do you know? I skipped Christmas altogether. Fiji was across the date line. I didn't have that day at all. Clever, huh? Of course, on the way back, I had 2 New Year's days. But that was acceptable, especially as I was filled with the warmth of the Fijian people and all the new experiences I had. That's what I wanted to capture from my childhood, that sense of surprises, juicy magic from the universe. And that's what I got out of that trip. Now, my wish to go to the South Pacific, that desire didn't linger forever. And besides, I got much shorter of money. No matter how inexpensive those trips were, you'd be shocked. And they weren't quite where I was at, so to speak. What I did in the next couple of decades, maybe 20 years or so, I worked in a retail store. In a store that had really nice things that people enjoyed doing something with, in outdoor recreation. Apparel, sleeping bags, tents, little things you could take in a backpack, footwear, boots, socks, snowshoes, climbing equipment, all of that. And here's what I found. I really enjoyed picking up on the energy shoppers had. I didn't care that they wanted stuff. I didn't want stuff, but I didn't care that they did. In fact, I was more than happy to supply them with whatever they asked me they really needed to get. I was really committed and enjoyed helping them out with that, because it very obviously allayed their anxiety, and it gave them pleasure in doing so, finding just the right gift. I have spoken about that in another video, Declutter the Holidays. But really, as you can imagine, I have an endless number of stories. One of my favorite happenings, people would come up to me needing help, and they'd kind of sneak around because the person they were buying for was right over there. And could you please not look over there, because that person will notice us and they'll notice me talking to you and they'll guess there's something afoot. And I don't want them to see this. So they'd approach me all sneaky like. So in the throes of the holidays, even the last minute, a man came in and he wanted a present for his girlfriend. And she was right there in the store. And he was doing the whole routine. Don't let her see us. Duck. She's looking this way. You know what I mean, right? So he said to me, I need to buy her a present, and I think I'll buy her a coat. And I said, what kind of a coat? He said he had no idea. What color? Well, he wasn't really sure, but he was quite sure that she didn't like red. So he could do black, maybe navy, maybe beige, something like that, but definitely no red. And then he said to me, oh gosh, she's looking at us. She can't see me talking to you. And I peeked over there. Guess what color she was wearing, head to foot? Red. So I said to him quickly, you need to buy red. So many good stories I have from those days. And for me, that gave me the sense of magic. How could I anticipate moments like this? And these were really connected moments. They gave me a sense of joy. And heck, I wasn't spending any money. But here was what I liked the most. In the last place I worked, and I worked for them maybe 20 years. Here's what my boss did. He would hire back the whole gamut of folks who'd worked there over the years. It was the most wonderful thing. For 3 days or so, we would hang out with each other. They could get paid, they could get a discount on their Christmas gifts and go on their way. But here's what it did for me. Most of these were young people. Some I'd known since they were age 15, never had a job before. And since my boss hired them year after year in the holidays, after they'd gone off to college, I got to see them grow up, get new confidence, find themselves, and then get launched into the world. It was so special. Now, did I need more lingering connection than that? No. I needed little moments of connection, of being able to see how excited they were about themselves. And I was excited about that too. They were so bright and lively. I could really enjoy that. Now, for one reason or another, I didn't do that last year, and I'm not going to do that this year. Because my sense is that I've really moved on. I need to go into the next phase, find anew what surprises me about the universe, what sparkle of connection I can have with people. So here's what I've done. I've organized so you all and I can chat. Some of you know about this already, yeah? So every other week, I'm going to have a live stream where subscribers can chat. The whole purpose is so we can talk to each other, even for a few moments, to find some little point of connection with someone out there in the universe that we may never have had a chance to meet otherwise. For me, that's the kind of connection I need now, and that's why I'm offering it. I hope to see you there, because I'd love to connect with you. And maybe you've never tried anything like that before, but I want you to feel assured that you will be really welcomed. There'll be room for you. You can chat too. Or if you're not into chatting, you can just go along for the ride. But really, I look forward to seeing you there. I'll bet you have some really creative ways of handling this holiday season. Perhaps some of you are solo like me, never married and no kids. Perhaps some of you have found yourself solo as the years have gone by, and many, maybe in families, but no longer feel quite as connected or included as you once were. Have at it in the comments. I will read them. I read every comment. And I'll be so glad to be in touch with you. And for me, that's enough for now. I wish you a great pre-holidays if I don't happen to see you again. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll talk soon, all right? See you then.